to give you a little, when Ramesh suggested I speak on mentorship, this was not my choice of topic at all, because I've been in the startup space for almost since 2005, so 10 years now, and from speaking with a lot of founders and entrepreneurs out there, uh, there's a little bit of a scare around the word mentor, because you know uh, the ecosystem is growing, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of people. So you know, so there's consultants all over the place. There's advisors, there's mentors, and a lot of people jump into it without understanding what they're getting into from both ends. Right? I've been on both sides of the table now, and uh, so there's a lot of fear around it. There's a lot of bad experience around it. So okay, the laptop's discharged. That's the first. Yeah. So there's a lot of this whole idea of a mentor. There's a lot of bad blood. There's a lot of negativity around the word. If you mention the word mentorship at a lot of smaller startup fora, people give you this knowing smile, and uh, kind of write you off after that. So like I said, I've been on both sides of the table. My first startup was a technology startup. We were in the mobile search space before smartphones became a thing. So we were either probably too early, or we just got mangled in the value-added services space, because we were a bunch of engineers, and it was not an engineer's play at all. The vast services play was a completely different game. So, but we learned a lot of lessons. We spoke to a lot of people. We had a lot of mentors on and off, and we'll just wait for that. So, as I started out my second venture, and which was a little bit of an accident really, because I was looking for a job after my first startup stint, and I just figured out that I was not suitable for work anymore, because after you've been an entrepreneur, you cannot respond to a job description and be honest about it, and it's very difficult to be dishonest at job interviews after having done it for 4 or 5 years. So I told people I'll come into office 2 days a week, pay me a third of whatever you are planning to pay me, and all that doesn't go down well. So the second one happened almost by accident, and I didn't. It's in hospitality, so we have a chain of 13 properties across the country now. These are all very small businesses. The brand sounds bigger, the business sounds much bigger than it really is. We're still at a very what somebody described it as a baby stage of the venture. We still have a long way to go, but we managed to do a certain set of things right. We managed to scale it. Each node runs autonomously, and I intend sitting down with Saumil and understanding more of it, because he seems to have cracked it now. So I had zero background in hospitality, right? I have been a techie all my life, stayed in Bangalore, and you're a hyper consumer in Bangalore, right? You do not really know how the real world out there operates. I had no understanding of finance beyond what my wealth manager used to tell me once in a while, and which is pretty much a scam job from that industry. I had no understanding of how marketing works, because even in my previous startup, we got funded, unfortunately. So we withdrew right back into our comfort zones, and the answer to every problem was to go back and write more code, right? Because you had the luxury of money in your bank. So so marketing, even sales, but marketing to a larger extent, was a completely unknown entity. So through this current journey, I've had to speak with a lot of people and get a lot of help in many small ways. I'd once arrived at a rule for myself that one day a week I'm going to spend at a particular coffee shop and meet at least 3 different people from 3 different diverse backgrounds, and just hear them out on what they have to say. And it really helped, because a lot of these people then became brand ambassadors and marketers for us. And of course, I learned a lot from them. In parallel, I mean, in my tech journey, I'd started gaining a lot of product understanding. So I started playing product consultant, if you will, to a bunch of startups, both formally and informally. So I don't know whether to call it mentorship, an advisory role, because I think it was a little bit of everything. In some places there was tactical involvement. In other places it was more strategic. It was sometimes just a coffee session where I was reviewing somebody's idea, somebody's product, and giving them my comments. And then they would ping me maybe a couple of months down the line on the phone and do a second conversation and so on. So I've been on both sides of the table. And so I took on this challenge and I told Ramesh, yes, let me address this. This is not my favorite topic. I can speak on my current venture for 3 hours non-stop. I really love what I'm doing. But this is something that has been a little bit of a scare in the market. It's something that all of us need, do in different ways. But there's a lot of fear around it. So who is a good mentor? Who is a good mentor? How many of you have formal mentors in your job or in your startups? How many of you? Yeah, all of us. Actually, that's a very good answer. In various ways, all of us do have mentors, yes. But I've recently seen a couple of startups engage with mentors more formally, on a more formal basis. So, yes, so I'll just go back to this. So the second part was my reaction to the topic when Ramesh mentioned it. This is my background. So you always say that the entrepreneur has to have persistence, etc., etc., etc. But every enterprise is built by 1,000 different people who help you in small little ways on an everyday basis on that journey. Two stories that come to my mind. Funny of Redbus speaks a lot about his mentors, particularly Sanjay, who was unable to come to this event. He's very vocal about his mentor's role in the Redbus journey. And I'm helping a company called Reverie. And this is fascinating because sometimes we are very diverse people sitting across a table, coming from completely different perspectives. And the guy who runs this company listens to all of them very, very patiently, right? And comes up with a decision, maybe a week down the line, communicates it to everybody very, very nicely, right? And the decision may not be in sync with any of the inputs that's been given to him, right? But the process just beautifully works. So these are two examples I've seen. And in small different ways, I've seen every startup use mentors, use help from people. I mean, I've sat down with Lalit here at least half a dozen times over the last few years, and it's always on the conversation is on a pain point that came in email or on a phone conversation day before yesterday, and I just had to have a sounding board, right? So you go over, grab a cup of coffee, discuss that particular problem, and come back. So why do you need a mentor to start with? I think the single biggest problem with all of us is that we have our strengths and weaknesses, which means we have our comfort zones, right? And it's very, very easy to shrink back in your comfort zone. If you're great at sales, it's very easy to build your company around sales and forget everything else. And so on with tech, with a great idea. Sometimes you're so absorbed with the idea and you believe that it works. So you forget that there are other stakeholders who need to be gotten on board with the idea. There is a market which will accept the idea in a particular way and not the way you think. So these learnings take much longer, right, than they actually should. I've seen a company persist with a particular feature in the market as a primary feature of the product, when something else was clearly doing better. And then the first conversation we had around those metrics actually opened their eyes up, and they said, yes, we should have done this a year and a half ago, right? So when do you need to start having these conversations? So day before yesterday is always a good idea, because if you're thinking of an idea, if you're there are people out there who've already thought of it. You'd never think of an idea all by yourself. There are people out there who are your potential customers. There are people out there who are your well-wishers in various senses. So a lot of these people can cut short a lot of your journey just by bringing up the right questions at the right time. So it's a good idea to not wait to start seeking help. You know, forget what tag you want to give it. So you know, we sometimes get very bogged down in the nomenclature of things, right? Is this guy my advisor? Am I bringing him on board as a mentor? Should I hire him? Is he my co-founder? I mean, forget all that. Just go grab a cup of coffee and, you know, start having your discussion. You can figure out the details later. Oops. So what questions? So there are a few red flags. So if you go to somebody seeking help at 20,000 feet level, you're wasting their time and you're wasting your time, right? So a lot of conversations start out with people basically asking them to define your product strategy, as it were, which is a fairly bad idea, because you are the guy who had the insight. You are the guy who has spoken to potential customers out there, right? The guy sitting across the table may be excellent at what they do. They may have a lot of industry experience, or they may bring in a lot of networks and connections, but they do not understand the problem from the point of view that you understand. As an entrepreneur, it's your product, it's your baby, it's your responsibility finally. So you need to whittle the conversation down to a specific question or a specific set of questions, right? Get their inputs on it, right? You are not trying to get somebody else to define your strategy or even your tactics, right? You're seeking inputs from them, and it's up to you to do something with those inputs in the way you see fit, right? Do not trying to arrive at an answer on the table there is an exercise in futility, right? You either will end up listening to somebody pointlessly or arguing with them, and both are bad outcomes. So it's also good to have mentors to develop the art of listening, right? Because it's something that will stand you in good stead in all your journey. What should you not listen to? So this is something I've observed in my interactions when I've seen entrepreneurs interact with other people who are a lot more experienced than I am. Like in my current the startup I'm advising currently, there are fairly senior people that this guy has been able to assemble as his board of advisors, and obviously these are people who have accomplished a lot in their journeys, right? And irrespective of the specificity, how specific the question is that you pose to them, you will get a broader answer. But very often you end up treading on the toes of your internal teams, right? So it's very important as a founder to maintain those boundaries, so that you're not compromising the integrity of what thought you have, what idea you have, and what your team is supposed to do. So you have to make sure you're not listening to people in blind faith, as it were, right? I mean, these are tightropes that you have to walk all the time, especially when you're dealing with people you respect, people who are senior, people who bring in a lot of weight. It's very easy to get intimidated by big names. If somebody's been the CEO of a big e-commerce venture earlier, it's very easy to get intimidated by that person, right? But it's important to have the conversation while respecting that person's judgment to hold your own. So the most important thing in a mentor, especially, is that person should not be coming in on board as a mercenary, right? Unless both of you are sure that you care, that person cares about what you're doing, who you are, maybe the idea itself, but that's not as critical. You should keep it to a shorter engagement. You know, have a first couple of conversations, and the engagement can be deepened, broadened, and if it's a person you trust, and if the person trusts you, you do not have to sign prenuptial agreements with everybody out there, right? The whole relationship is based on trust anyway. This person is your Krishna to your Arjuna, right? They are hopefully not a mercenary. So it's the most critical thing is that the person care about your company, you as an individual, because apart from all the advice you will get on your product and on your markets and stuff like that, when you hit rock bottom emotionally, and that happens to an entrepreneur, you know, it's a cycle. There was a nice post on Facebook about feeling great and feeling low, and that getting damned over time. So you need this sounding board, you need this advisor, you need somebody to keep you sane at that point of time. So it's very important that that person care about you as well, right? Industry experts are definitely useful, because very often, you know, entrepreneurs especially are very open about the fact that we have this one skill and we suck at 200 other things. You know, it's what defines us different from, you know, folks who are actually doing a job somewhere. But outside of industry experts, there are lots of people. There are guys with 2 years of work experience, right, who will give you great advice at how to scaling a particular platform, and it's still worth your time to sit across the table with them and listen to them, right? So we tend to grade people in terms of their experience, seniority, success, right? We tend to think that if somebody's actually managed to scale something, is when you should listen to them. But honestly, EduSports has already scaled, but I would honestly want to talk to him about all the other experiments that he's done, because there's a lot of learnings. He's a mentor to me because he's been through those experiences, not because he's managed to crack this at the end of it as well. You don't want a yes man as a mentor ever, right? It's nice to hear people validate and stamp authority on your point of view, but that's something to watch out for. And of course, the last one is self-explanatory. If people are trying to, you know, if people expect you to listen to them blind, they have lost respect for you as an entrepreneur. That's a very dangerous place to be. How do you typically engage? One is, as a startup founder, you are always pitching your company to everybody, right? Employees, wife. So this is no different from for getting an advisor or a mentor on board. The engagement is a very it's a fine art. So yes, you respect that person. You start out with a few conversations, and the relationship deepens. It's almost like a dating game. It's very important to complete the loop. So irrespective of whether or not you listen to any specific piece of advice, it's very important to get back to them saying, this is what I decided, these are the reasons, this is how I'm going ahead with it. Right? They don't have to agree with that. That's all right. But it's very important to show the person at the other end that you respect the fact that they spend time with you. Forget everything else. And it's very important to and if you see some good outcome because of some piece of advice or some door they opened for you, show that appreciation, because otherwise you won't have too many mentors very often, very soon. A lot of mentors do get into a relationship where there is a win-win for both, right? There is equity, there is a small retainer fee sometimes. All of that happens, but I would suggest that be delayed, because the ecosystem is much bigger and much more mature now than it was in, let's say, 2005 when we started out, and there are a lot of people who just want to help you, right? Figure out over a couple of months whether there is deeper interest from both ends. I mean, if I call a bunch of angels, or if I call on Lalit to spend an hour with me to discuss a particular question or a topic, I'll get a lot of help. There's somebody who spent a week with me trying to do a rough cut valuation for my company, right? And this was all free of cost. Right? There is help out there. If there is a deeper interest, if the person ends up liking your idea or showing an interest, or you think a more frequent relationship is needed, that's when you should think in terms of signing up a mentor. I mean, there are these organizations out there who help you proactively sign up mentors. I think this is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. You don't even know that guy, right? So it's a much deeper thing than that. Yep, questions? So that was a tough one for me. I've never spoken on anything like this before. Thank you.
I don't know whether it was tough or not, but it was very.
Thank you.